And I've been fascinated by the different traditions. I love reading about the different traditions and the different practitioners and those that really have no particular tradition. They have guides and teachers, but they're not aligned. Maybe they are aligned to nature. I just had a wonderful conversation on the phone with a beautiful man. He and his wife and I was in Victoria, which is one of the most gorgeous places on the planet. I don't know if you've ever been there or not. And he wrote this book, and he sent me the book, and I read it, and it was quite a long book. And his awakening was through nature. And I was really touched by, it was an exact map of awakening and the different phases of awakening than someone that was in a monastery or someone that was in an ashram or someone that was a Christian mystic. The very same map, the very same phases. But his was in nature. I think he spent can't remember the 3 months or something in the BC woods. Lots of bears, lots of mosquitoes, lots of flies, lots of rain, lots of cold, lots of. And he broke down. And he surrendered. And he opened up to actually what was happening. And he was honest and vulnerable and raw and willing. Set aside the personal agenda and begin to open up to what already is moving through us, speaking through us, directing our lives, coming through. And with that devotion, can you make this subtle little shift? And that's all it is. It's just like a subtle little turn. And allow awareness, spirit, God, the radiant being, whatever you want to call yourself. Because it's that that's moving you, that that's directing you, that that's giving you life, that is allowing you the time and the abundance and the devotion to be here. The ego eventually starts to collaborate. The life starts to support and starts to get on board. But it's not the ego. It's not your best spiritual effort. It's not all of the wonderful teachers you've been with and all the beautiful insights that you've had and all of the glorious kind of places on the planet that you've had the privilege to go to receive teachings. That's the great being. That's God, that's source, that's awareness. It's directing, moving, guiding, presenting, unfolding. So most of you have had very, very deep recognitions of your nature. But often, even with that, there's this subtle identity. I'm doing it. I'm getting it. I'm not getting it. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. I'm coming from a tremendous amount of, neglect or abuse, and I simply can't. You start to get the recognition that though this journey is to bring up and to make conscious what has not been made conscious, this is true. It's not to ascend and to move into some spiritual la-la land. That's not what's being pointed out. It's to be available and to be present for that is arising. That's the great liberation. That's a part of our journey here, is this great liberation. But it's to see that it's in the past, it's a memory, it's not current in this moment, and what is. And again, it's not denial, but it's where you see the liberation, not I am being liberated. We're walking the razor's edge. You know this. You know this. Every one of us know this. And it's not to bring forth fear, but it is to bring forth a kind of a vigor, right? And attention. Many of you have been talking about, and I certainly have seen it in myself and others, there's a great kind of fierceness. And you can be like open and heartful and a deep sense of content and ease, and this fierceness is still moving through your life and through the planet itself. And so how do you rest deeply, come back repeatedly until it is stable and settled to that I am, and then experience what's happening on the planet, the fierceness, the beauty, the I don't know. Do any of you know anything about what's going on in your life? I mean, it's just this, I don't know. You know, it's always been true, but now it's apparent. But this fierceness, it brings the attention to actually what is. And it lovingly embraces and welcomes what is coming to consciousness for liberation. But that fierceness, that non-wavering, then allows the liberation to happen, the arising of deep-seated patterns from the past, and it arises the sense of identity of those deep patterns from the past. But it holds it, embraces it, welcomes it, sees it. And that clarity is that is attended to over everything else. That comes first. I am that is seeing and liberating and loving and welcoming that is from the past. But I am free of that. No gap. You know, my teacher calls it just a closing of the gaps. It's just a closing of the gaps. And there's a certain point, and everyone within this room is at that point, where that kind of wavering, well, you know, this is kind of an exception, or, well, it just stops. And one lives and sees and hears and moves and breathes and expresses from that. And then you're taken. It's kind of this strange thing, you know, where You can't find yourself anymore. You can't find yourself, defending and identifying and projecting, and it may go on. But if you look, you can't find yourself in that anymore. So that's where we're at. I'll tell one of my favorite Ajahn stories. So it was one of the 10-day retreats that he was doing for a while. And there was this young man, and he was just a beautiful young man. And he was at a Tibetan center like this. And the young man came up, and he was so devoted, so sincere. And he said, I've come to so many of your retreats, and I get this big taste, and, I'm maybe in bliss for a while, and it's all, cool and groovy and blah, blah, blah. And then I go home, and it all kind of falls apart, and I lose it. And then, I look at my bank account and see if I can afford another retreat, and then I come up and I go to another retreat, and the same thing happens. And it just goes on and on and on. And, he said, I can't take it anymore. I just can't take it. The pain is too much. And Ajahn said this very simple thing. He said, what is shining through these eyes? What's appearing through these eyes? He said, do that, and in 10 days, there will be no more coming and no more going. So I went, cool. I did that. I took it very, very, very seriously. And no matter what arose, I would just come back. It wasn't a denial. I would just come back and I would look behind the eyes and look through these eyes. What appears through these eyes? And everything I saw and all the different experiences that I had was seen through the reality and the truth of who I am, the holy presence of who I am. It's that intimate. It's that intimate. I don't know how he went. He didn't give a report. But I took those 10 days. That's what happened. Moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. So I encourage, whatever resonates with you. But it's that steadiness, it's that vigilance, it's that that's it. Anchoring in your body, anchoring sort of behind yourself, anchoring behind the heart. Stay steady. Stay present. It's pure awareness shining through these eyes, beating this heart, coursing through this blood, living in our bones, and then all around, above, below. And there's no limit to that. The great wisdom of, the cosmic mother is not superior, not inferior. She's coming into totality and equality. So we're a part of that. We're a part of that emergence. We're a part of this collective remembering who we are and then living moment by moment from that, through that wisdom. Self-remembering. It's not special. In fact, that's what you find. The ego wants to grab it, but what you recognize is we are all that. There is no hierarchy. It flattens it all out, which is very cool, even though your ego would rather be special. You find out that that's a dream. It's just another dream. But there's something that just starts to dawn. And it dawns all the way through. It dawns on every cell, the whole cellular being, within, without, all around, above, below. And the trying and the good student and the efforting and making it happen and, doing whatever we've done, which is a part of the unfolding. But there's a certain point that you literally step into as the divine. And again, it's not special. It's quite the opposite. You become what you are, which is the interconnected. The great kinship of all beings is now realized. Because it's the same root. We all come from the same womb, the same root, and we all arise as this substance. The great creatrix, called love, not the relative love, but the actual love. And then we step up to our dharma, whatever that is, fully. It's that we have a particular way that it unfolds within us, and it's perfect for us, and only this body-mind structure, these body-mind structures, can express it. And you're taken. And to the ego that sounds frightening or awful or however you want to define it. But the reality is being taken is just absorbing back to that you have always been. And then your great skills and your talents and your intelligence and your intuition and whatever it is that you are, then comes forward and serves from that. It uses what you are and serves from that. And there's nothing better on the planet than that. But let's just hold steady. Hold steady. And what arises, arises. What is revealed is revealed. What unfolds, unfolds. That's the true embodiment.